The story begins with a man named Frank Perry imprisoned in jail who was lost in deep thoughts at that time. And it was clear from his face that he was going to do something that he had never done before. And after some time, in this video I am going to recap one of the film from 2008, named as The Escapist. Frank came out of his room and reached the room of the most dreaded prisoner of the jail, Ridge. On the other hand, in the laundry room of the jail, 4 prisoners were trying to escape from the jail. They immediately removed the drain cover and made a hole in the ground through which they went down one by one. But Bree was waiting there for a long time for her special friend Frank. Actually, the plan of all of them was to escape with Frank. But at the last moment Lacey reached there instead of Frank. After waiting for his friend for some time, Broad also finally jumped into that pit. But he had unknowingly forgotten his hat there. After some time Frank also finally reached there, who was in a very injured condition, and he immediately picked up Broad's hat and jumped into that pit. Actually, a few months ago Frank was living a normal life in the jail like other prisoners, where his work was to clean the jail premises. Frank had to wash clothes in the laundry room. Frank had accepted this life to a great extent because he was serving a life sentence in that jail, and he had no hope of coming out. So what option did he have other than considering this jail as his world? He spent most of his time alone. Frank also kept a distance from the most dreaded prisoner of the jail, Riza. After spending so much time in jail, Frank had made some friends, and one day when Frank came back to the room after finishing his work, he saw that his partner was packing his stuff. Actually, his sentence was over and he was ready to go back to his home. On the other hand, all the other prisoners were standing to see the new batch coming to the jail, who were being brought after applying an antibacterial powder. Along with this, those prisoners were not wearing anything except underwear, and the happiest to see this was Riza's brother Tony, because he had been in jail for so long that being a man he had no problem in loving a man, and he also enjoyed teasing the prisoners, and now his eyes were set on a new boy named Lacey. After some time all the prisoners were sent to their respective rooms, and Lacey had become Frank's new partner, and Frank was not particularly interested in her because when Lacey tried to talk to him, Frank ignored her. That evening Frank got a letter. Actually, Frank had been writing letters to his family for the last 14 years in the hope that maybe someday his daughter will definitely reply to his letter. But in the last 14 years he did not get a single reply, and the letter that came today was also from his wife, in which she told that actually his daughter was admitted in the hospital due to drug overdose and she may die any time. On hearing this news, Frank's whole world turned upside down because the person whom he loved the most was now standing on the threshold of death. This thing was eating Frank from inside, and that is why after some time he reached the prison church, where seeing his condition a guard opened the door for him, even at such a late hour. After this Frank went to the confession box, where he took out that letter, and he started crying loudly, and now he wanted to meet his daughter for the last time at any cost. Next morning while working in the laundry, Frank's eyes suddenly fell on the iron mesh behind the washing machine, just above which there were some iron pipes which took Nee out of the jail, but this thing laid the foundation of a very big plan in Frank's mind. After some time Frank met his closest friend Broad, during which he asked Bree if the air vents in the machine were connected to the prison's pig system, and Bree was very surprised to hear such a thing from his friend, but then Frank showed him his wife's letter, after reading which Frank wanted to get out of this jail at any cost, that too as soon as possible, and for this he needed help. Actually, Broad had a lot of experience in digging tunnels because he had dug a tunnel under the jail before this too, and after thinking for some time he agreed to help Frank because he himself was serving life imprisonment in that jail. After a few days, Frank met a dangerous man named Lenny. He met Boxer, who was supposed to be out on parole at that time, but Frank's previous cellmate had acquitted him, due to which his parole was cancelled, and now he was very eager for revenge, which Frank was going to take advantage of, after which he told Lenny about his plan. Frank had come to him because Lenny was an expert in using any tool which could be of great use to them. Lenny was initially reluctant, but after thinking for a while he agreed to it. After this Frank had a meeting with his other 2 companions where they were discussing their plan while pretending to play something, and they had only one way to escape, which was through the laundry room, but to reach there they had to cross 3 secure doors, but Frank had another way also. Actually, when Frank went to the confession box he noticed that the walls of that room were very light, and now according to Frank they could break the confession box and enter the laundry room from where they could get air. By breaking the vents they would reach the pig system of the jail directly, but for this it was necessary to first cut the iron plate on the air vents. That very night, as soon as the lights of the jail were switched off, he started his work and he cut the iron pipes of his room and connected them with a screw which he was going to use to cut the iron plate. On the other hand, Frank went to meet the biggest prisoner of the jail, Tootin, and Frank challenged Tootin for a boxing match on behalf of Lenny. On the other hand, the plan of Frank and his companions was also moving forward rapidly, and now they knew their route very well, which went through the air vent to the drainage system from where they were going to reach a river after crossing, which a railway station was going to come from where their freedom could start, but they also knew that those railway tracks had a current of 650 volts and if they did not cross them in time, then they would all be killed. After discussing their entire plan, they decided to get out of this jail after 3 days, but they did not know that Tony was on top of the river. He was standing and watching them, and he understood from the gestures of those three that they were going to do something big. That very night all the prisoners gathered in the canteen to watch the match between Tootin and Lenny. Actually, Tootin was very strong and he started beating Lenny badly, but as soon as he got the right chance, Lenny punched him hard on his face, due to which a diamond tooth fell out of Tootin's mouth, and Lenny picked up the tooth and kept it with himself before the guards came there. After this he attached that diamond tooth to his pipe which he had made a night before. The next day Tony asked Frank some questions about his plan in the bathroom, and when he did not get any answer, he asked Frank to keep the door of his room open, and also promised to come to his room the next day. When Frank told this to his companions, their confidence wavered a bit, because they all knew that even if they wanted, they could not say anything to Tony, because he was Reese's brother, but they also knew that if they did not do anything, then their plan would be ruined, and that is why Frank asked permission from all of them to bring a new man in the team who could help them at this time, whose name was Viv Batista. Batista was actually a prisoner, whose job was to deliver very small amounts of drugs to the prisoners, and actually, he used to do this work in collaboration with the government, so that gradually by reducing the amount of drugs, the prisoners could be freed from addiction. The next day, Frank put an offer in front of Batista, according to which if Batista helps them and calms Tony in any way, then in return, Funk will take him out of the jail with him. Batista agreed to it as soon as he heard his words, and also made a plan which was going to calm Tony forever, and for this he prepared a special drug in which he had mixed poison, and he quietly brought those drugs out of the lab, and gave them to Frank. In the evening, Frank was waiting for Tony to come back a little nervous, and he had also kept the drug made by Batista with him, so that whenever Tony comes to meet him, he can get the drug from him. But unfortunately, Tony did not come alone in the room, there was another partner with him. Tony immediately handed over the drug packet to his partner. Tony already had an evil eye on Lacey, and he took advantage of this opportunity, and started teasing Lacey, but Lacey was not one of those who keep quiet like the other prisoners, and he started beating Tony in response to this act. As soon as Tony's partner saw this, he immediately ran away from there out of fear, but despite this hurry, he did not forget to take the packet of drugs. On the other hand, Tony was so badly beaten, that he was not even able to walk, due to which he fell down the stairs as soon as he came out of the cell, due to which he died on the spot. On hearing about the sudden death of her brother, Riza called Frank to meet her in her cell, while on the other hand, Lacey was put in solitary confinement after that incident. Everyone knew that Tony was killed because of his own actions, but no one was ready to say this in front of everyone. And now there was only one eyewitness left, who was Frank, because Tony's partner had also died by then, due to taking poisonous drugs, and that's why Ridge wanted to know the whole truth from Frank, that how his brother was murdered. For this he called Frank to his cell that night, but unfortunately, Frank and his companions had also made a plan to escape from the jail that night, which had already started, and by then those locked in different rooms in the jail had started their work with him. On the other hand, Frank was told that his wife had come to meet him, who told him that their daughter died in the hospital that day early in the morning. On hearing this news, Frank was completely shattered, and now he did not have any reason to escape from the jail, because he was doing everything only to meet his daughter. If you liked the video, then like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.